Panagiotis Neochoritis, the right chander at the most holy church of St. George at the Phanar in Constantinople.
Was your choir leader your
Yes.
choir leader? Wow.
Yes. And you know, my relationship with music is like the relationship between Judas and Christ. I was given everything and I betrayed them.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Path to the Priesthood, the podcast where we sit down with Greek Orthodox clergymen from around the country, and we ask them what it was that led them to ordained ministry in Christ's church. I'll be your host, Christo Pappademos. We have a very special guest for you today, but before we meet him, let's hear a little bit about him. Father Christos was born and raised in the city of Seres in central Macedonia, Greece. He received 2 undergraduate degrees, one in law and one in theology, as well as a Master of Arts in Mass Media and the Church at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. In June 2000, he was ordained to the Holy Diaconate, and in March 2001, he was ordained to the Holy Priesthood. Since then, he has served as priest of the Holy Church of the True Cross in Ceres. He has been very active in his community, among other outreach. He founded and directed a church radio station, very cool, served on the board of a drug prevention center, wow, counseled for Sunday school, and planned and coordinated charity programs. He now serves as the associate pastor at the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Cathedral in Portland, Oregon, along with Father Paul Paris. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Father Christo.
So nice to see you or to hear you. I don't know. Is it a video as well? It's just listening.
It's video as well, Father. The people they'll be able to
so,
see you and everything. Yeah.
Okay, so nice to see you.
Yeah. Well, Father, thank you for agreeing to join us on the podcast today. I'm very excited to hear your story because unlike the other guests I've had, you began as a priest in Greece first before you became here to work and serve in the metropolis of San Francisco in America. So I'm very curious just to hear about your upbringing in Greece, if there are other priests in your family or not, and how you came to be Father Christo. So Father, why don't you take it away?
Okay, thank you for that. I think my understanding is that everyone's story, everyone's personal story could be a book by itself.
Yes.
This is my understanding. So from this aspect, I am not something special. On the other hand, everyone is special in God's eyes.
Yes.
We know that Christ would come and would do the same thing again and again just for one of us. So yes, we sometimes we share a common story, but I think the shared story that everybody shares is that uniqueness that we have towards Christ, and that makes us Orthodox to stay close to the church, because many people think that the church is something impersonal. No, it's something deeply personal. So from this aspect, I have my story, and I think it was something that I was born with. I don't know. I remember when I was 4 or 5 years old, I didn't feel that I went to the liturgy if I was not there for the Elfino gospel, for Sunday Martin, Resurrectional Martin's gospel.
The early. Yeah.
Early, yes.
So you think if you came after that, you feel like you did not properly attend the
correct.
Liturgy. Yes. Amazing. From 4 to 5 years old. Okay.
Yes. And that's why I cannot claim any credit of that, but because I was born like that. It was given to me.
Yeah.
And of course, I had a wonderful godmother, a grandmother.
Okay.
Yaya Katina, my Yaya Katina. Yes, and I think she's one of the most beautiful people I've ever met in my life. Totally giving, totally accepting, very realistic in what would happen around here, never complaining. And yes, and it was very, very obvious since I was a child that yes, I was a crazy child. I could do everything that every child could do. And sometimes I would be, the leader in mischieving people.
Really?
Oh
Father
yes,
Christo was.
oh
That's
yes,
funny.
yes, yes. I was a very alive child, but the same.
Was this, were you, I know you're from the Thessaloniki area, right,
It
Father?
is Ceres is a
Ceres, I'm sorry, that's right.
yes. It's a city around 80 kilometers northeastern from Thessaloniki, close to the Greek-Bulgarian or borders. It's
Right.
it's a beautiful city. It's quite big for the Greek standards. It's around
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
100,000.
Wow.
Yes, but for the American standards, I think it's just a big town or a small city. But I think Ceres is the 10th biggest city in Greece. So
I see.
yes, yes,
So you had kind of the city upbringing, but you had Yaya with you to kind of guide you through, because being a child in a large city, there's a lot of opportunities for, like you said, being mischievous and stuff, but Yaya was
yes,
kind of your guide back then.
yes. And she would always be there to protect me if I did, if I would overstep the mark, she would always be my protection.
That's amazing.
We were raised in a very natural way. I think a lot of people in my age share this with you. I'm 52. I had my birthday 2 days ago.
Ah,
And
Χρόνια πολλά. Look at
that
that.
is so. Thank you so much. And I mean that we are, in my opinion, maybe someone disagrees, one of the luckiest generations because we didn't experience any war, just like our fathers did.
Yeah.
But we still had the experience and we grown up by the people who raised up by the people who experienced war. My
Yes.
So I know my grandmother, the same lady that we talk about, she was taken during the Second Balkan War by the Bulgarians. It was put in a train. Bring to your mind the same images that you have
Whoa.
from people in Auschwitz, in Dachau, what the
Whoa.
Nazis did to Jews. We experienced that in the Balkans. The passions were very, very strong. So they
Yeah.
would pack everyone of the city
Trained.
in trains. They would burn down the city in 1913, and no water in the trains, no food, and everybody would die. And they made the train to go around and around all the Balkans in order to kill people.
Whoa.
So this is how she lost all her family except her brother, and
No way.
everybody who would die, she would just put thrown out of the train. So she had no idea where her family were buried or eaten by jackals or wolves. Very hard years. So we were raised up by people who experienced what war was.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we had all the luxury of living in a modern, era.
Look at that.
Yes. So it was amazing. We could go swimming in the rivers.
Yeah.
I had this experience. At the same time, at the evening, going, for our English class.
Look at that.
Yeah. So we are very, very blessed generation. Very blessed.
Yeah. You had the best of both. You had the wisdom of
Correct.
Yakatina's
Yes.
generation, but you had
Yes.
the accommodations and the opportunities of a free generation. That truly is amazing.
Yes. It is amazing.
Yeah.
And that love for the church was always innate in me. I remember summer times when the day would become too hot to be outside. I
Sure.
would go at her home and I would use the door of her bedroom as the royal gates.
No
Oh,
way.
yes, I would put a carpet in front of that, and I would take a very nice glass which looked like a chalice and
Yeah.
a very long, spoon, ice cream spoon, as the communion spoon,
Well, yeah.
and she had sent for me vestments, and
No way.
by the age of 5 or 6, I knew all the liturgy by heart.
No
Yes,
way.
at least what I could hear from the chanters and the priest.
You
I,
would replicate at home.
yes, yes. Yes.
Now, did Yaya Katina was bringing you to church, or was there another priest in your family, or just going to church with Yaya Katina? That's what instilled this.
Well, it's here maybe it could become something more personal. I think people, well, I can share this with you.
Sure.
My brother was born 4 years before me.
Okay.
So he got sick. He got
Oh.
jaundice on the third day after his birth,
Oh.
and his brain was completely destroyed.
Whoa.
Yes, and he still lives. John. He still lives with my parents back in
Okay.
Greece.
Mhm.
So 2 years later, my mother got pregnant to two twins, and
Whoa.
yes, and she lost them. She had a very bad miscarriage
Oh.
on Christmas Day, and they didn't have the technology to keep them in life. So
Sure.
my twins brothers died as well.
On
So,
Christmas.
on
Wow.
Christmas Day. So that's why my mother said, Christ, if you ever give me a healthy child, is going to be yours.
Wow.
Yes. Well,
Wow.
I think what she meant is that she would like to name her child after
Christo.
Christ,
Yeah.
Christos.
Yeah.
I am the first family member after generations and generations who has the name Christos.
Wow. So
Mhm.
not like usual, not from, of course,
No,
now it makes sense, not from your papu, not from anyone else,
no,
straight from
no.
this promise your mother made to God
Yes,
himself. Amazing.
yes.
That's very,
And yes. And when the moment of my ordination came, my mother didn't like me to become a priest. She was,
oh,
oh, she didn't like that. Yes,
no way.
she had other dreams about her son, No,
You got us a lawyer or a doctor.
yes, correct, correct. And I reminded her, Mom, you are the one who devoted me to Christ.
Yes.
And he said, what did you understand? I was talking about the name.
That's amazing.
Well, of course, she got really proud of me and the priesthood, and
Yeah.
immediately, and she understood. And this is the miracle that I had. I wish I was 100th, 1,000th, 1 millionth of what my parents are.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I was very blessed to have wonderful people around me. My parents are amazing people, and I'll owe them everything.
That's amazing.
Yes,
That's
yes,
awesome.
yes.
Yeah.
So when time came, everything took, its place,
Yeah.
and here we are.
Amazing. So, okay, so you've grown up now in Ceres, and Yaya's been with you all the way. Did Yaya
Mhm.
get to see you be ordained a priest? Did she?
No, no, no. She passed away when I was 19 years old.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes,
Well, we
yes.
know she was there with you in her
Oh,
spirit, looking down from heaven as you were ordained to a priest, and was proud from there for sure.
and my other yaya, Nina, who passed away 4 years before I was born. I
Oh,
was born on 72. She died on 68.
yeah.
She's the one who always wanted a priest in the family,
Look at that.
and she was praying for that. And I'm going to tell you something to understand the quality of the people.
Yes.
Well, my grandmother, the one who died before I was born, she owned a grocery store.
Okay.
Okay. And if people went on Wednesdays and Fridays to
Oh,
buy charcuterie,
oh.
salami, would
Yeah,
say,
creas, meats.
Chris, no,
Oh,
today Wednesday is Friday.
the owner.
The owner,
Look at that. So
the
she could have
owner,
made money. She could have
yes,
gotten more
yes,
money because it's more
yes.
expensive.
So, today you can have legumes. I can give you bread. I can give you olives. Can you imagine? But no, I'm gonna give you charcuterie on Saturday, not today, or come tomorrow when it's Thursday.
Bravo, Tis. That's amazing.
So
You know, technically, okay, maybe not other priests in your family, but I think truly saints, it sounds like really
I don't know if they're saints, but I think they experienced the faith in a very natural way, not
yeah.
not an artificial one, not an intellectual one. It was everything
An active,
intertwined.
meaningful, yeah.
Yes, it was an everyday life. It was a way of living, not
Yeah,
a
not just
way.
when they go to church, not just on
Yes,
the Yortes and the feast days. It was how they live their lives according. That is truly amazing.
yes,
Wow.
correct.
Wow.
And apart from that, I was, as I told you, I was a very naughty boy. I liked nice life. I was a great dancer. I liked dancing.
Hey, bravo.
Of course, I liked
Greek
partying.
dancing or just like going out in general?
Oh, every dance, every kind of dance. It's amazing. And of course, I went through puberty.
Yeah.
And of course, I thought I was smarter than the fathers of the church. Of
Oh,
course, I said what Saint Basil knows. Of course, of course.
that's
And
hilarious.
yes, and I never liked Sunday school. I need to say that the way it was done these days back, so strict, so
Yeah.
sterile, so without soul. So it was, oh, I
Without
didn't like
love,
that.
just just toxy and yeah, that's
Yes,
not the
I
way.
didn't like that. And I didn't like being in the altar as well.
No way. That's usually if you don't like Sunday school
Yes,
like me, I stopped going to Sunday school, but I
yes,
would hang out in the altar, but not even
no.
the altar.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because I remember I wanted to be there.
Hmm.
I love to
In
be in the
church.
church. Yes,
Yeah.
at church. But when they asked me to go and join the altar boys, group, I heard saying, "Come with us," because, and I'm going to say it the way they
Okay.
said it, because we're better than the others.
Whoa.
Because
Even as altar boys,
yes,
they thought this way, them versus the normal
yes,
people, shall we say.
yes, yes.
That is very
And I was 7 years, 8 years old. Can you imagine the arrogance of these people they got when they were 8 years old? They were better because they were serving at the altar, and I immediately left. You are not
good for
better.
you. Good
Oh,
for
yes,
you. Yeah,
yes,
now I understand why you would not want to be. That's not a joyous,
yes,
loving,
yes,
experience to
yes.
have. Wow.
And after I get older, I realize that the altar is not a spiritual ground, a playground. It's not a place where children would have access. I know it's not an American tradition, but I learned that only the ones who have the blessing of the bishop,
Yes.
you need to help the priest to stay undistracted, celebrating the mysteries. It's a different understanding.
Right. It's not a social environment. It's not
Correct.
many altars. There's
Yes.
little signs with
Yes.
the prayers, no
Yes.
speaking, no talking.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we kind of lose sight the sin of familiarity, shall we say, for
Mhm.
those of us that spend
And
extended time.
it's amazing. I remember our sexton back in Greece saying, Father, I feel nothing when I get the altar, the holy altar, to help me. But I tremble if I got to go to the altar of another church. That familiarity destroys a lot of things.
Yeah, become
Yes.
comfortable, and that's very insightful from the
Mhm.
Neokoros you said was
Yes. Our Neokoros back in Ceres.
that is very
Mhm.
insightful for
Mhm.
him. Yeah.
Mhm.
So now, so you're growing up in Ceres, and the altar was a certain experience with kind of the egoism of the other
Mhm.
servers back there.
Mhm.
So how do you go from this experience in the church to end up going to the theological school in Thessaloniki? Because it seems, and we're probably skipping, some important things that happen. So fill us in there. But it's just interesting to hear, first experience in the altar, not really a spiritual one, but then here you are, Father Christo, all these years later. So what happened between that experience and seminary?
Well, humans have their plans and God has his own. Okay.
Yes, yes,
So
indeed.
it's and he's very insistent guy, the big one. He
Yes,
doesn't give up easily.
he doesn't.
Well, no matter how crazy I went during my puberty,
Yeah.
I never gave up Sunday's liturgy.
Whoa. So, okay. So even
Never.
going out, being
No,
regular Christo,
no. No,
Every Sunday.
no matter if I would partying every Saturday night until 5 a.m.,
Yeah, that's how
6
they do it.
a.m.,
Yeah.
I could go home, I would have a shower, and I would go straight to the church. I wanted 7:30 when Orthodox starts in Greece during
Oh,
winter
7:30.
time, 7:30. I needed to be there.
Wow.
And as I got older, I wanted to spend more and more time. And when I got my driver's license in Greece, that takes place when you're 18.
Oh,
And
18. Okay.
yes, I would drive to the monastery.
Oh,
A new sisterhood had come by Elder Ephraim of Arizona. Is Gerondis Fevronia there?
oh,
Yes. And they came from the same Gum monastery of Portaria of Volos.
oh, Volos.
Gerondis Fevronia and even Gerondis Marcella,
Yes.
well, she came. I know Gerondis Marcella since I was 14. She,
No way.
yes, it's amazing. God has a great sense of humor.
Yes.
Gerondis Marcella came to Ceres. There were three nuns, Gerondis Fevronia, the current Gerondis in Ceres, Gerondis Marcella, who was Marcella that time back, and Vrieni, the one who is second in the rank right now at the monastery of Prodromos.
Wow. So the
These,
three of them.
the three of them, they came to a very beautiful monastery. I invite everyone to go to the monastery of St. John the Baptist near Ceres, the Forerunner. It's a beautiful building of the, I think, 1270. It is actually, it's like a time travel. You go there, you find
Yeah.
yourself, into the Paleologian, the Komnenon, dynasty of Byzantium. It's
Wow.
beautiful. It was
So
nothing.
that,
Everything was crazy, but I would go there every Sunday for the liturgy.
look at that.
Yes, and at the same time, my first bachelor was not in theology. My first bachelor was in law.
In law, that's right. I remember
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
And so what were you thinking at that phase? More along the lines of, you said your mother wasn't overly thrilled when you said you were going to be a priest. So was lawyer the first thought for you?
Well, we never had the discussion before the time came for my priesthood. So in my early 20s, I was just a normal, happy, law school student who was doing very nice studies. I loved law school. They taught me
Cool.
there are so many things. And
Cool.
but I didn't have a very special, let me say, yearn to be a lawyer or whatever. But it was a very nice way, to have a job, a nice job in Greece.
Yes.
The
Yes.
law bachelor is a very helpful bachelor to and opens many doors.
Yes.
And but as I would grow up, I would find myself more and more and more attracted by the church or to the church.
I see.
And then I found my spiritual father by a coincidence, and I went to one of his homilies,
Mm-hmm.
and all the questions I had in my soul, in my mind, were answered in one night. And
Wow.
it was the Church of Analypsy of Ascension in Thessaloniki. I
Oh,
think
okay.
I think Ascension is maybe the biggest parish in Thessaloniki. I'm not sure. That time back had around 80,000 people as a parish.
80,000. That's a
Yes,
city. I mean,
yes,
by
well, yes.
now, where in Thessaloniki is Analypsia? If I
Is between it's on Olga's Avenue
Mhm.
between Martiu and Botsari.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
I wonder.
it's a beautiful church. It was very alive, and we had the huge blessing there to have a group of 50, 60, 70 people who were highly educated,
Hmm.
not the classical church people,
Right.
people who would ask the difficult questions, people who,
Academics, people. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, exactly, students with artists, authors, people who became later diplomats or singers. So
Wow.
yes, so
What a melting pot of
yes,
all facets of society in one church. And
yes,
so all these professionals, artists, of these
Journalists,
journalists,
yes.
when they have these discussions for the homily, are they asking one priest? And one priest is answering?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. And that priest became our spiritual father. And we got to the point that all this group, every Sunday at the Ascension Church, they would have two liturgies.
Okay.
Because for the logistics, yes.
Yeah.
So they decided that it would be good for this group to start chanting for the second liturgy.
Whoa.
Yes, and then a wonderful gentleman came in. I didn't know him. He was a very passionate young man with a huge voice, huge musical, physical instrument here, a huge passion about Byzantine music, a huge passion and love for the Byzantine tradition.
Cool.
And he started teaching us. Do you know who that person is?
Because if I have a feeling I'm putting pieces of the puzzle together, is this possibly Father Demosthenes?
No.
Oh, no, I have no idea.
Father Demosthenes was his assistant.
This man's assistant. Then I don't know who
Yes.
This was. A lay person, right? Not a priest.
A lay person.
I don't know who this was.
It is Panagiotis Neochoritis, the right chanter at the most holy church of St. George at the Phanar in Constantinople.
Was your choir leader, your choir leader? Wow.
Yes. So,
and Father Dimo was his
assistant. He was a lay person that time back.
Wow.
And you know, my relationship with music is like the relationship between Judas and Christ. I was given everything and I betrayed them.
Because you had Panagiotis, you had Father Dimo at the time,
and I was helpless.
That's so funny because I mean, you know, my dad is quite the psalty himself. He has a love for it, and you know, he tried to teach me a few times, and he still does try to teach me. Yes. But like you, shall we say, I did not give all of myself to music like I did to the seminary. Yeah. So
poor Father Demosthenes, Demos that time back, had no other choice to use me than to make me the typicari. You know, the one
set up the services.
Yeah, so it was the first time that I got deep into the typico of the church, and I learned by heart everything, and I would read the typico of Constantinople, of the Church of Greece, or whatever. So I loved that, and I had something to do. Otherwise, my voice was really annoying. Believe me.
No, come on.
Yes. The first time that my wife listened to me. She thought that I was making fun of her, but I was doing my best.
You're just trying to seriously chant.
Yes. The only time that I took that seriously is after my ordination. And from that aspect, I was very lucky because I had great teachers. I mean, priests, liturgists. I was lucky enough to have great people in the liturgics in showing how to do the service. And
even your skill of with the Typica, like putting together the order of the services, shall we say? I mean, how many different books do you need to do that? 7, 8? Now we go online and we just print the services out, but that in itself is kind of a lost art. So at least from that, you have this rare ability that very few people in this country have. At least I'm sure in Greece there's, you know, hopefully someone in every community that can do it. But that even in and of itself, putting the Typica together, I don't think I could do it right now. If you said Christo Leira, I could probably get 60% of orthos together, but I really, I mean, it's difficult.
Well, it's not difficult if you get in the mentality of the service, if you understand what the fathers and the church through the ages want to offer to people through the services. It's very easy to understand why they have the kathisma there, or they have it there, or why we have anavathmus at that moment, we don't have anavathmus later, and etc. and etc.
Okay.
And I don't mean that people didn't make mistakes in Greece, but it's another thing not to follow the order for pastoral reasons, and to know that you're making a change for pastoral reasons. It is another thing not to know what you're doing and you make mistakes out of ignorance.
Right.
So I learned, yes, that as we say in Greece, os έδοξε το πρωτιστώτη, as the head of the assembly thinks, the bishop, okay, the metropolitan comes and she's an excellent knower of the typikon, she knows everything perfect, but sometimes you say, please skip that.
Yes.
He doesn't do that because he doesn't know. He does that because she does that for pastoral reasons.
The service is long. There's something after.
Yes. And sometimes, yes. So this is how I was raised up, let me say, about the typico. Yes, the typico is good. Yes, the typico is perfect, but at the same time, we need to have some, how we say that? Economia, when we have other reasons to change things.
Yeah. And so you're learning all this now. You're still the law student, Christo.
A law student, yes.
And
then I meet my wife there, my future wife.
At the same church.
Same church.
Okay. Yes. Now, where was Presitata at the time? A student as well, I assume? Or
she was. My wife is a drama teacher, researcher. I don't know how to translate that accurately in English, because drama teacher means totally different things in America that it means in Europe, in Greece.
Like a historian of drama, kind of, would you say? Because it's
not only that. For the Greeks, even now, theater is not something that you think about. You don't go to the theater to think God is being said on the scene. The theater has always a cathartic role. You participate with the protagonist, with the actors. So after the show, to achieve catharsis. This has always been the definition of what tragedy is. If you go to the definition of Aristotle about what tragedy is, the purpose is always the citizens of the city to go to live the theater better than when they went. That's why theater was so important from the ancient Greek and Athenian democracy.
That's where their morals, their life lessons, their moral compasses were formed.
It was not just a way of thinking. It was a way of experiencing things so that ethically would become better, because they knew very well that the highest ethical level of the citizens would be, the higher quality of their democracy would be.
Right.
Okay. So yes, so this is, and that is being used in Greece, these principles, this participation, this experience, as a tool within schools.
Of course.
Yes, and it's good because we're going to use these tools this year here in Holy Trinity to help children to experience the Beatitudes. And
wow! So do you have a specific course now that will be based on the Beatitudes, and like you'll have discussion? That's very interesting approach to kind of youth religious education, to have like a consistent theme throughout the year. Look at that. Very good. Is this through the Greek school? I know you have Portland features like very uniquely enlarged Greek school.
That will take place through Sunday school this year.
This will become the Sunday school.
Yes.
Amazing.
Sunday school. Yes.
That's very exciting.
Dora was done with her studies in Athens, in the National University of Athens. She came back to Thessaloniki, where she is coming from.
Okay.
And we met at the church. We didn't like each other at the beginning.
What?
Oh, yes.
That's so funny.
Oh, yes. But you know what they say, hate and love are very, very close to each other. So one day the relation clicked and became love.
Look at that.
Yes. And that was actually the first time that I realized that I wanted to be more and more involved in the church, even as a priest. And I had the discussion with her, and she said, it would be great for me if you become a priest.
That's amazing. That support, because I mean,
Yes.
like you said, your mother was less than enthusiastic, kind of. So
My mother knew nothing about that until that moment.
wow.
They knew nothing about Dora. They knew nothing about my
Oh,
priesthood.
so
No, nothing.
everything at the same time. Look at that.
Well, I was done with my law school. I
Mhm.
had just passed my exams. I was waiting for the graduation,
Oh, wow.
ceremony. Yes, and my parents were so happy,
Sure.
and I went back to Ceres, to celebrate my graduation.
Yeah.
And the moment I stepped to my house, and everybody was hugging me, and I'm saying, I'm graduating, I'm getting married, and I'm getting ordained.
Whoa.
Just like that.
Whoa.
My mother had stew, that day. She never cooked stew after that.
Even to this day, she'll never cook the stefano
Never.
or nothing.
Pote, lagostifado, never again.
Oh man, that is
It's
hilarious.
post-dramatic syndrome from here.
Yes, yes, from the stefano for sure.
Lagostifado.
Lagostifado. That is hilarious.
Yes.
So everything was, so Dora was not with you at this time. You went back by yourself, obviously, because you're going to your hometown and you told them about everything.
And it was the plan. I would tell my parents, she would tell her parents.
Oh, so she
Yes,
went
yes,
back. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And then we met together, and we had 40 days. We told them, you have 40 days to have for the preparations. So we got lucky enough not to spend a whole year on preparing the perfect wedding. And this is my
Oh, 40
advice.
days for the wedding.
Yes, 40 days.
Oh,
We're getting married in 40 days.
wow. Okay.
So this is my advice to young couples. Don't spend so much money on that. Don't spend so much energy. I know that is every girl's dream, but please, it's a huge industry. Why you spend $100,000 for something that the only thing that matters is the blessing of the church?
Yes, and I've never heard it put that way before. You said it's an industry, which it totally is now, because we're used
Mhm.
to, in the faith, for the meaningful, beautiful services taking place inside the church. These
Yes.
days, let's go to the beach, let's go to the mountains, the
Oh,
golf courses, everywhere
no.
but the church, because this industry has taken a hold of it. So that's very, the simplest way is the most beautiful way sometimes, and that's what the church
Yes.
has been laying
Yes.
out for us, but we
And,
change it. Yeah.
and many people believe that the wedding is the crowning of the relationship. I'm sorry. The crowning is the beginning.
Oh.
What happens at the church during the wedding is not the last thing, is not the end, is the beginning.
That's very true.
And the real crowning will happen after we die.
Oh, that's right. That's why
Oh,
they're buried with the Stefana, with
of
the
course,
crowns.
of
Oh,
course, of course. I don't know what is happening in other Christian denominations, wedding. I've seen movies when they say until death do us apart. I'm sorry, but a marriage is not be solved by death. Yes, there is no sacrament of the church that is defeated by death. And actually, this is the hope that the church brings in this life, that this marriage will be alive after death. The
yes.
liturgy that we will do for St. Demetrius, or we did for St. James, or we do every Sunday, is not limited by death. And this is the hope that the church brings, that through the sacraments, we defeat death. We participate in eternity, we participate in divinity. The here becomes there. The history becomes eternity. Humanity becomes deificated humanity. This is our hope.
Right, that's right. The faith, it's not just to get us through this life, right? Of course, it's all about the next life, and we forget that.
It's both.
It is both, yeah.
If we do the mistake, to limit the church into the next life, then we, let me say, disgrace. Maybe disgrace is too hard, but definitely
You downplay, you don't give enough credit. Yeah.
yes, we make the church religion. If you pay notice, the religion promises things for the next life. The church says, come here and now, so you can become, through the sacraments, my sons and my daughters. Now.
Right. Both applications for
Yes.
the here and
Yes.
now, and then later application.
Yes.
Yeah.
We start everything now. We have experiences now, but the perfection will come in the future.
Yes.
Yes.
Very nice,
Yes.
Father Christo. Very
Yes,
nice.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these you're working through all these things now, coming from the studies, finishing for law school, telling the family. Now it's 40 days that you have leading up to the wedding with Dora. And then, so the wedding is where it's in Thessaloniki.
In Thessaloniki, correct.
Hualu, yeah, of course.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
And then so, yeah.
But we chose to live in Ceres, which is a smaller city. We didn't live in Thessaloniki. We started our home in Ceres because it's a smaller city. It was easier to raise children.
Yes.
Of course, that time we didn't know if God would give us any children, but we hoped for.
Sure.
You know, and that's why we moved from Thessaloniki to Ceres.
And that's where you served your first parish, right? Was the
Holy Cross.
Status?
Holy Cross.
Okay.
Holy Cross.
Okay. So, yes. But then how long is theological school in Greece? How many years did you spend at the?
Is officially 4 years.
It is 4 years. Okay,
it's
so
4 years. So yes. So when I decided, after my ordination, I got the bishop's blessing, and I joined theological school in Thessaloniki, and I did that because I wanted to know what is going on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I ask a question? So you are ordained, and then you go to theological school.
Yes. In Greece, having a bachelor in theology or a theological degree is not a requirement.
That's right. There's levels.
Yes. The mentality is different. How can I explain that? The most important is that you want people who are devoted. We want clergy who they live the church in their hearts.
Yes.
We want people who can help other people. So academic knowledge is very, very important, but is not the alpha and the omega.
Of course.
And if you pay notice to the big saints of modern Greece, Paisios, Iakovos, Porphyrios, all of them, and all of them, almost all of them, they had no academic background. They knew everything by heart. They had read all the fathers. They knew everything by heart, but they didn't join a theological school.
Look at that.
Yes.
I never really kind of made that realization.
And at the same time, we know very well that when you live in a multicultural society, you have challenges, you need to know theology, you need to answer people who are asking why is it and why. So it is highly recommended to have a theological, degree, bachelor, but it's not a requirement.
I see.
So when I went to theological school, I didn't go because that would make my future better or because it would help me to climb the ecclesiastical rank. I was married. I would, it was no something like that.
Right. You're not,
so it was just for me to know what.
Keep learning, to be able to converse with, like, because you mentioned from your church, the poets, the artists, the doctors, the whoever, so you could converse with people like this on a strong foundation.
Yes. I lived with these great thinkers for so many years. More or less, I knew what an atheist or someone else would ask me. And I wanted answers. I wanted to know the way how you answer to people like this, who have good intentions, but very bad experiences.
That's a greght way to put it. Good intentions, but bad experiences that maybe shake them off of a certain path.
Christo, I haven't met not even one person who was born being against God.
Yes.
No one. Yeah. Usually is something goes wrong during the process, and that was told to me. That was said by Father John Bacchus
Oh yeah, in LA.
in LA. I didn't hear that from his mouth, but that was told to me, that was said by him. It was, I think it was a baptism or a wedding in his church. You know, all the enfant gâté of Hollywood was there.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, actors, singers, and at the end of the liturgy of the sacrament of the service, they went and Father John explained to everybody what is going on.
Yeah, that's always
Yes,
a very
yes,
good thing that they do.
yes, and everybody was enthusiastic. And then they told him, you know, Father, everything is beautiful, but we're atheists. And Father John
Oh,
told them, you know, I'm sorry, but you're not atheists.
yeah.
Say, what do you mean? Because you prostrate fame as God, you prostrate money as God, you prostrate, I don't know, power as God. So you're not atheists, you're idolaters who made.
Other gods.
Yes, I don't know if that was actually said by him, but it is a very nice approach to understand people. Because,
Yes.
and Christo, how many times us, the people of the church, make us our gods?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
So idolatry is not something that exists
Only
out of the
outside the
church.
church.
It's
Yes.
oh yes,
Everywhere.
yes.
Yeah.
And if we cut the church of Christ, the church becomes something like an idolatry. There is no church without Christ.
That's right.
So
That's right.
it's a very tricky thing.
No, it is tricky, and that is why it's so good to be able to converse with not only your own parishioners, but people from all walks of life, people from all the industries, whether they be, you know, Americans, people from Greece, anywhere, from with any experiences, and be able to understand that, you know, in the mind, no matter how much the person believes themselves to be an atheist or to not believe, I like you, I heard this from some priests, I can't remember who because I wasn't there. They say that no matter how much in the mind the person considers himself an atheist, somewhere in their heart, part of them still longs for that connection to God, because of course we are created by him, always yearning to.
Yes, of course. If you think that you're atheist, I'm sure that you will find something that you put at the center. Is that science? Okay, so you made science God. Is it humanity? You made humanity your God. Is it about being good? You made goodness your God. But all these gods die. Faith dies, science dies, everything dies.
Yeah.
So we haven't nothing, and no one can solve the problem of death. That belongs only to him, H capital.
That's right. That's right. Amen. So now, okay, so you've returned to Ceres. You're Father Christo now in Ceres. And how many did you serve in Ceres? And then did you serve anywhere else in Greece before coming to America? I'm very curious about how this next,
17 years at Holy Cross.
Oh,
yes.
That's awesome.
I got ordained in 2000.
Yes.
So I have actually, it's going to be 25 years in this March.
Axios.
Yes,
in March, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
March, yes, 25 years of priesthood.
Cool.
And yes, and
oh wait, can I ask you, this church in Ceres, was this the same church when you went to be an altar boy when you were very young, or is this a different church now?
The only time that I went before my ordination, there was only once. I barely knew the church.
Oh, so it was Miyake Kali just one time and that was it there. And then, okay.
It was the biggest, the richest, the most problematic parish in the metropolis. Usually these things go together. But it went well. And so I stayed there for 17 years.
Wow.
Yes.
That, I mean, because 17 years, that's almost kind of a lifetime of ministry in itself. And then, so after those 17 years, if I remember, I think Father Dimos Thenis had come to America at some point. And is there a bridge there with Father Dimo, or was this something with you and Dora?
It's on 2003, we visited the States because our cumbaros, you know the word cumbaros, correct?
Yes. Yeah, cumbaros is, how would you define it? Cumbaros is when you either stand as a witness to baptize someone or as the sponsor of a wedding, the best man, we call them, or the maid of honor, we call them cumbari.
We were sponsors at his wedding, and we are the godfathers the godparents of their first child.
Ah,
Yes.
okay.
So he was a fight pilot, and he was selected by NATO to participate in a program about the electronic war.
Whoa.
Yes, that was 2003, and that would take place in the naval base of Monterey. There is a
Oh,
huge,
yeah.
yes. So they
So
asked
from Thessaloniki, where he was based, I assume, and he was a fighter
it,
pilot for Greece?
it was Larissa.
In Larissa. Yeah.
Larissa is the NATO section of the military air force in Greece.
Look at that. So from Larissa to Monterey, he was assigned.
Yes, yes. For
Wow.
4 years, they stayed here they lived in these facilities for the military person,
The
people.
bungalows. Yeah.
Yes, and we got an invitation. They said, "Why don't you come? You're going to pay only for your air tickets." So we came, and we spent with them almost a month. And
Cool.
at that time, the bishop was Bishop Anthony. Well, of course, I followed all the ecclesiastical protocol. I never managed to meet him in person because it was already sick. We talk about the
yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
We talk about the summer of 2003.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and but I had the opportunity to celebrate liturgies in Salinas.
Oh,
That I got.
wow. Before they moved. Yeah.
Yes, and I met the priest there, Father John. And when we spent some time in San Francisco, I had the permission of the metropolis to do the liturgy at the Annunciation Church.
You have?
Yes, 2003.
No way. I mean, obviously, that's a long time before I was there, but I've been working there for 5 years. Look at that. I had no idea. Okay, cool.
Yes. And my recollection is that the priest of that day was on vacation, and I remember a name, Father Gregory from the Antiochian Church. I don't remember who that priest is, but we celebrated it together.
Father Gregory Ofash. Yeah, he used to help Father
Yes.
Stephen. That's amazing. Yeah.
So, and then we had two paraclesis in Salinas as well, because it was the period of the Kapendavustos.
Nice.
So I had an experience of, but the biggest thing is that since we got in America, we had this feeling that not that we belonged here, but we felt very comfortable here, both as people and as priests. And that time back, it was, I had much longer beard, much longer hair.
Really?
Oh,
Did
yes.
did you have kotza, a ponytail?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, yes,
Father,
I did.
no way.
Well,
Well, in Greece, that's the style, right? That's the expectation.
It's not only that. It's something different than that. It's because I was still very young as a priest.
Okay.
And I wanted to experience everything in its full extent.
Yeah, sure. Do it.
Yes.
Do it all the
Yes.
way. Yeah,
Yes. And I can share this with you. And then one day, my spiritual father asked me, "Why do you have long beards and long hair?" And I said, I want to look more priesthood-like. Yes. Say, "Oh, is that a spiritual flirting?"
Spiritual flirting, he said.
Flirting to the people. You pretend someone that you are not.
That's very good. This was the same spiritual father from Ascension. That's very good. I've never heard that term, but that is portraying, being acted a certain way.
Yes. You show something that maybe you would like to be, but you are not. And before being ordained, I was a very clean look guy.
Sure.
I didn't like long hair, didn't like long beards. That was my personality.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I decided, okay, why I don't do what I feel comfortable with? So I trimmed my hair, I trimmed my beard, and here I am. So
look at that.
Which makes me feel very, very comfortable.
Because it's who you are, and that's
because this is me.
Yeah. That's awesome. What an important thing to keep a hold of and to keep in mind. In ordained ministry, sometimes identity becomes an issue. You want to portray more the priest, but we are all individually uniquely called by God for a reason, as we are. And then of course we go through a certain refinement process in our studies and on the road to ordination. But you are still your father Christo, but you're still Christo from Ceres, and that's the important thing to keep with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is, this is not easy for a clergy family. You come from a clergy family. It was not easy for my wife. We were alive people. We were born and lived, in a city. It was we didn't know how to act.
Sure.
And there were many people telling to us, you have to behave this way because you're a priest or a presbytera. And it took us a while until we find, let me say, the silver line between the golden line between who we are and what our role is as well.
Yeah.
That takes a while.
It does.
And sometimes can bring a lot of anxiety to the clergy couples and to their families as well.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yes.
Finding that balance of staying true to yourself, but being
Yes.
the
Yes.
example, the proper role in the
Yes.
church. Yeah, that is it's a delicate balancing act. Yeah.
And even when you have kids, I'm sure that you are not the only one who called your father father.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone will call your father father. So it's not difficult for a child whose father is a priest to understand, okay, everybody calls him father. So where stands my unique relationship to him? Puts under doubt subconsciously the psychology of children, of clergy children, of,
it makes sense.
Yes. And
because, I was lucky in California, the priest is not wearing his anderi outside to the grocery store, stuff like that. It's maybe on the East Coast you see it more, but on Sunday mornings, my dad's obviously Father Dino, he's at the church, but then Saturday mornings he's refereeing our soccer games and he's running around, he's helping us throw the baseball.
Yes.
It's like so
Yes.
we were lucky that we had a full father at home and full father at church, but sometimes, like you're saying, the balance would be off a little bit, maybe.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And when these children go through puberty and they need to reject their father in order to build themselves, what will happen with the other father, the church father? Do they reject the priesthood as well? So it's yes. Well, what I'm going to say is that yes, the clergy families, they have a lot of blessings, but at the same time they have, let me say, more challenges than a usual couple.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's and thank God your children have two parents very mindful of these things and like that. I've seen all the.
You need to ask them about that, not us.
We'll have them on the next podcast. Yeah.
Okay. I will not answer for them. That's their call, not mine.
That's funny. That's funny. So your first time in America, which is amazing, you felt comfortable right away.
And let me say, too many coincidences about that. And that, people approaching us. And I remind you that it's only 2 years after the 9/11. People didn't like to see people in, let me say, dressed in an Arabic, apparel. And it would be difficult for someone to believe that I was Arab.
Yeah.
So I had a very big cross on my chest, reminding yes. And not only that I was in no danger, on the contrary, the cross and my appearance, my castle would be always a point of starting conversation about who you are and what Orthodoxy was.
Yeah.
It was a huge advertisement of something new is here.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was wonderful. So we have.
That's interesting because I imagine in Greece you're walking down the road in your anderi. Nobody thinks big deal. There's the papas, and okay,
yes.
But you're in Monterey, San Francisco, especially, you're walking down there. That's not something they see every day. And so,
Oh,
yeah.
imagine in Portland, okay, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
even
yeah.
crazier. So you always raise questions about who these people are. What are they doing here?
Yeah.
It,
And even with this, though, you felt comfortable. You felt
no,
welcomed right away.
more than that.
That's
I
amazing.
I felt that I will never forget. We were at the MoMA Museum of Modern Art
In
in
San
San
Francisco.
Francisco. That summer, they had a divine exhibition of Chagall. Chagall was a Jewish Russian in
Oh,
origin. He was French. He moved to France after after he was born in Russia, but he was Russian Russian Jewish.
Jewish.
So
Yeah.
he was full aware of the Russian Orthodox tradition.
Oh,
So yes, so if you go to Chagall, you will see that a lot of times he uses the symbol of a cross on his paintings.
oh,
Yes, and that is because he took a symbol of Christianity and made it a symbol of human suffering and
oh.
of human hope of resurrection, that after crucifixion, always resurrection comes.
Yes.
So, and I had my headphones for the,
Sure.
for the automatic tour at
Uh-huh.
the museum, and an American lady from Hawaii. That was a cultural shock for me because I had a very stereotypical understanding of what a Hawaiian should look like, and
Yeah.
she was thin, tall, white, blonde, green eyes.
Oh,
So
look at that. Look
yes,
at that. Yeah. Yeah.
and she asked me if I was a priest. I said yes, and she asked me, "So is Chagall making fun of the
Mm.
cross?" I said, "Not only she doesn't make any fun of the cross, but she takes a Christian symbol and makes it a symbol of the pain that all
Mm.
humanity goes through, and through that went to resurrection." And she was impressed by that, and
Nice.
we started talking and talking and talking and talking. And then I realized that I was talking for 25 minutes.
Wow.
I was standing on the fifth, eighth step of the main staircase of the museum, and I had in front of me 40 people listening about Orthodoxy.
No, in the middle
Yes,
of San Francisco,
in the middle of MoMA
of
Museum.
MoMA of all places,
Yes,
not
yes,
really a religious
yes.
place, shall we say?
No, no, not at
And
all.
your first time in America, on top of that.
Yes, on
That
top of
that
that.
is truly amazing.
Yes. And I realized that my wife is in front of me waving, saying, "What are you doing?" And I realized that I was out of space and time.
Wow.
So that I'm telling this to understand how welcomed we felt in this country.
Yeah.
And we understand how thirsty the people were for this and
Yeah.
how open they were.
Yeah.
This is something that I think this is the biggest gift that America has managed to provide to the people who come in America, that yes, we can talk about everything,
Yeah.
and everything we know needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
And
Because we have everything. It's not
yes,
one culture,
yes,
it's not one.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, everything is happening. And
Yeah.
if we choose to close our eyes, we're just saying lies to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And anyway, and time passed, we had this understanding of America, we had this desire, and many, many years later, almost 10 years later, I was working with my wife in the IKEA store in Thessaloniki.
Oh, wow, there's an
Yes,
IKEA in Thessaloniki. Look at
yeah,
that.
of course. And someone came, no children, just the two of us, and
Yeah.
someone came and tapped on my shoulder. And he said in Greek, in broken Greek, "Είστε Ελληνοαμερικάνος? Are you Greek American?" I said,
It's
"No."
Milagro. That's yeah.
And I said, "No, I'm just Greek priest." He said, "Because you don't look like the average Greek priest, short hair, trimmed beard."
So you have the short beard and hair then. Okay, okay.
Yes. And I said, no, I am a priest in Ceres, and etc. We start talking, and he said, where do you come from? I said, I come from Ceres. Oh, and he said, our assistant priest is from Kavala, but is
Oh,
moving to San Jose. And then I realized that he was talking about Father Demosthenes.
I forgot Father
Yes,
Demosthenes was in Portland. Yes, of course.
yes.
Yes.
And
Wow.
I said, I know Father Demosthenes. He was my Byzantine music teacher,
Yeah.
and I was in his ordination with his wife, Presbytera Magda, who were schoolmates in the law school in Thessaloniki.
Oh, wow. Look at
So
that.
I knew Presbytera Magda before Magda get to know to Father Demosthenes. It's
Oh, look at
amazing.
that. That's crazy.
It's a very small world.
Yeah.
And he said, yes, they are wonderful people, but unfortunately they're going to San Jose to take over the church there.
Mhm.
And without thinking, I said, I can come and take his place.
Look at that. So this is interesting because you have 10 years before you have this meaningful experience. You enjoyed it. You considered what it might be like, but then you continued as life as usual and
Yes,
just
yes.
living your life.
Children, studies, parish issues, everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
everything going that direction. Never like, trying to set something up actively in America,
No.
walking through IKEA. This
Yes.
wonderful man
Yes.
from I assume from the Portland
Yes.
community, taps
Yes.
you on the shoulder.
Yes.
It's like that.
And yes. And he said, do you mean that? Yes, I mean that. And then he took his phone out of his pocket. It was 4:20 p.m. end of June. You know very well that you never call anyone when in Greece between 3 and 5:30 p.m. during summertime.
Oh, because siesta?
Yes, unless if there were unless if
Emergency.
yes, unless if I don't know the sky is falling, you will never call anyone. Yes.
What were the times? Because I know about siesta, but I didn't know about the phone call rule. 3:30 to 5:30?
I would say 3 to 5:30.
3 to 5:30 to be safe. Okay.
During summertime, yes.
Don't
And
call anyone. Okay.
yes, and he said, "Tak tak tak tak, Isidoros, we found the priest we were looking for." He called Isidoros Garifalaitis, the archon, the great man,
Of course.
and his family who offers so much to the community and the metropolis and everywhere.
I believe he's the vice president of our Metropolis Council these days too, right?
Yeah. Well, if you try to write down his titles, you will need
you would.
pages. I think what is most important is what is written in his heart. And
that's very true. And since we brought up Mr. Garifalakis, I will say, and you obviously must know this, he was visiting San Francisco a couple of years ago to meet with His Eminence Metropolitan Gerasimos, and I can't remember the specific date, but someone looked at the calendar and they said, "Oh, do you know what today is?" It was the feast day of Saint Yakovos
of Evia.
And yes. I did not know that Mr. Garifalakis was his altar boy when he was young.
Oh yes, and he can testify for miracles, personal experiences from the sainthood of Saint Yakovos.
I believe it.
Yes,
cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is how it started, and in front of the shelves with the towel. So yes. And the gentleman who had the discussion with was John Spathas, a very old member of this community.
Big family, Spathas family, yeah.
Yes, a big family, very great people. And the strange thing is that when I had the invitation to visit the parish here, it was January of 17, and it was the day that it was his John Spathas' funeral. So he invited me. I was coming. He was leaving.
Oh, wow.
Yes. You see the connections are crazy.
That is.
Yes.
All like you said earlier, God does not give up on his plans, and they come about, despite our lacking, they come about in the most ways.
Yes.
That's very cool. Yes. And so that was 2017.
Mm-hmm. And we came here actually 27th of October is going to be our 7th anniversary in the States.
Oh, no way. So,
Yes.
so visit and then wow. And well,
Yes.
congratulations for that too. That's this
Thank you.
Sunday, and it's a Sunday.
Yes. Yes. I think it was Friday that time back. Yes. Very strong moments. Very strong moments.
That's amazing. Very cool. And so how, I mean, it's probably hard to put into words, but how is ordained ministry, the life, the work of a priest different in Greece than it is in America? You've kind of hinted on the differences of the people here, the questions they have, although the questions sound maybe similar to what the people in Ascension and Thessaloniki were wondering and things like that. But what are the differences between your 17 years in Ceres and your many years in Portland now?
Everything is the same and everything is different. Yes,
of course, yeah.
Is not a matter of question, it's a matter of how you approach someone. And this is where people think differently. So everybody is thirsty for the truth. Everybody wants to have a better understanding and experience of God, but then the American reality, the American mentality is totally different. So you need to choose a different road every time.
Yeah, it's case by case. Yeah, there's no one size fits all. Everything is unique. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. So you need to find a different way every time that you have to deal with a situation. And for me, that was not easy because I had my Greek way. I knew the Greek situation, the Greek reality very well. I was totally unaware of how a parish functions and is being run in America.
Very different. Yeah.
I had great counselors around me. I still do mistakes. I still make mistakes here.
Sure, all of us.
Yes. But what I can say is that I feel that in Greece, I would plant one and I would have two in reward. Here, I plant one and we have 100-fold.
Oh.
Yes. America reminds me of what Christ says, that I see the fields being wide and ready for harvest.
Yeah.
This is my experience of America.
Oh, beautiful.
And, yes, and I like the fact that Americans are very honest. Then I like that so much. They would ask something, they would accept your opinion. If they don't agree, they would disagree very politely. With real arguments, not just because they don't like something. So this is
very good, Father. That's very insightful, and it's fun for me to talk to someone that has both of these experiences. We're kind of coming to the end of our time here. Just one last thing before we let you go. If there is maybe a young man watching this who's not in theological school, but he's involved in his church, and you know, he thinks about the priesthood, what advice would you give to someone who is maybe at that law school phase of life that you are at? What advice might you offer to them as they continue on their spiritual journeys?
Well, you're talking about priesthood specifically?
Yes, it would be, but it doesn't have to result in priesthood specifically.
Well, if it's about priesthood, I would tell him to find the book of Father Vasilios Thermos.
Okay.
It is the clergy, the priesthood invitation as a psychological event, where it's amazing book. I don't know if I translate the title correctly. The title in Greek is «Η ιερατική κλίση ως ψυχολογικό γεγονός». The clergy, the priesthood invitation as a psychological event, where, you know, maybe you want to become a priest because you're going to be the center of the attention. Maybe you want to have power. You can have many psychological reasons why someone would like to become a priest. And he's a great theologian. He's a great, he knows the human soul very well. So he can.
What's the priest or the author's name of the book one more time?
Father Vasilios Thermos.
Okay, I'm going to
Yes,
Google after.
and he has. I think he worked many times with other Father Stavros Kothinas. I think it was
Oh,
Thermo.
okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I think they know each other very well. Father Stavros is another, I don't know, spiritual giant, and we're very happy to have him in America. Yes. So
Good.
I'm saying that yes, we need to understand why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Some, because sometimes we think it's God behind that and not our personal, let me say, desire.
Yeah.
And of course we know that for us, the sinners, God puts the desire in our hearts. Well, we're not Moses to reveal himself to us, okay?
Right, right,
We are
right.
going to be too scary. But
Yeah.
he creates this desire in us, and then we need to double check where the desire comes from our weakness, from the devil maybe, from
Mm,
God's will. And since we get the answer that where it comes from, and if that is compatible to God's will, I would say for someone who to become a priest to move forward. It's
yeah.
yes, it's a great blessing, it's a great responsibility,
Yeah.
and it's a great sacrifice as well. And for the rest of people, never reject Christ and the Holy Church. Never. If they reject it, to come back quickly. And
Yeah, that's right.
of course, let me say, of course, they have every right to reject whatever they want.
Yes, yeah.
But there is nothing bigger in this world than the church. Nothing.
Amen.
It is the mystery of the mystery, the sacraments of the sacrament, the Holy Church.
Yes, Father Christo, very beautifully put. It was very fun for me. We've known each other for years now, but with our busy schedules, rarely do we get time to chat and catch up like this. And it was, very inspiring for me to hear about your path to the priesthood and your personal story. And I appreciate the spiritual wisdom and experiences that you've shared with me and our audience today. And I know that it will do a lot of good for a lot of people. Thank you very much, Father.
I hope so. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Path to the Priesthood.